Hello and welcome to Movie Reel. I am Samantha Tomlinson.
And I'm Kevin Tracy. This week we're going to be talking about a little movie called VelociPastor.
My God.
Wow, this movie.
My sister and my sister told me about this because she's like, she and her boyfriend were like, wanting to watch it. And then I saw it and I read the description and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, we're
Yeah,
doing this.
why don't you give a brief plot summary of this movie?
It was made in 2018 and it's like on IMDb, the synopsis says, after losing his parents, a priest travels to China where he inherits a mysterious ability that allows him to turn into a dinosaur. At first, horrified by his new power, a hooker convinces him to use it to fight crime and ninjas.
And ninjas. Yeah, this movie has everything. It's got religion, it's got dinosaurs, it's got ninjas, it's got cocaine, it's got a kick-ass montage of him working out because we needed that. And boy oh boy, you bet your bottom dollar this has a freaking Vietnam flashback for some reason.
So we had so we decided we were prior to our last one, we decided we were gonna do VelociPastor, and I was editing our last episode, and I get a text saying, I'm trying to look for it. I get a text saying, I'm about 10 minutes into VelociPastor, and it's insane. Then the next one, this movie looks like it has a budget of $10, to which I responded, yay!
Yeah.
And then a
And
little while
and and
later, there's a Vietnam flashback. This is the best. And I'm like, oh my
yeah.
God, it has everything.
Yeah. And then you started watching it last night, if I remember correctly, and you sent a text immediately after you started it, and it said, "I'm not even 5 seconds into VelociPastor, and I'm dying." uh, yeah, this movie right off the bat just tells you how much it's working with.
It's complete nonsense. And it's pretty clear within the first 2 minutes. This is trying to be a bad movie.
Yeah, it's supposed to, it's campy beyond belief. It's so cheesy. The writing, the acting, it is just so unbelievably hilarious. And the one thing about this movie that I thought was kind of funny and kind of threw me off is that the main actor of the movie, the guy playing Doug Jones, our pastor, the VelociPastor, he looks like a mix between John Mulaney and Zachary Quinto. And I
I
couldn't.
totally saw the John Mulaney. I totally
Yeah,
saw John Mulaney in never Zachary Quinto. He
yeah, like
actually he
he looks like a combination between the two, and it kept throwing me off. Like, and I even watched it a second time with my mom, and she was all like, "He looks a lot like John Mulaney." It's like, okay, good. It's not only me.
I didn't. Interesting, Zachary Quinto. I thought at the end when he's wearing the leather jacket and the jeans and Converse, he reminded me of a combination of both of your old roommates. Like if Reed and Frank were merged into one.
Oh my god.
From that I forget the name of it, but that video that Aaron made
Oh, the
where
the Cowboy Bebop video.
Reed was wearing a leather
Yeah,
jacket
no,
in it, and that's where it I don't know, they both just seemed like a blended version of that to me.
I know exactly what you're talking about. We'll try to maybe send a link to that
Put it on the Facebook
if you find
page.
us on YouTube or something like
I'll
that.
put it
Yeah,
on
on
the
Facebook
Facebook
or
page.
YouTube or something. But
Yeah.
this movie, it when I watch it, it's like this movie has like a total budget of like $10. It looks like it has no budget, and I looked it up to see like what they actually had to work with for a budget, and they had a total budget of $35,000. It's like that's still really that's insanely low for a movie, and this movie like stretches it to its limit. Like you can definitely tell where it's like they had like a couple actors like playing multiple roles. Like I think there was like a guy, like a couple of the guys in like the Vietnam flashback were like some of the ninjas and so
Thirty-five
on and
thousand
so forth, and they
dollars.
only had $35,000 was the total budget that they had to work with.
I know that's not a lot, but honestly, this does not even look like it's worth $35,000. It looks
I
much. It looks like
yeah.
it looks closer to $100. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
insane. It's
yeah.
ridiculous. I can't. Oh my god. It's yeah. I was done. I think I will say there was like a part where I did kind of get a little bored, and I remember I paused it at one point to go like do dishes or something, and it's like 10 or so at night. This is last night, and
Yeah.
I'm watching, and then I pause it and I go and see, and I think that there's an hour left, and I realize no, there's not an hour left. The entire movie is an hour and 11 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, this movie is like a total of like 75 minutes. It is insanely short, but it feels like it's so long.
It's
It
ridiculous.
this movie just
Oh god,
it
I can't say that
stretches
enough.
everything out too.
It's not.
It has a lot of like a campy like vibe and like kind of like an actiony vibe that like Kung Fury kind of gives. Um
I
it,
thought
it,
that, but Kung Fury is 1,000 times better.
yeah, well, I mean that one also had like a significantly larger budget.
Yeah, no, Kung Fury definitely came to mind. But this movie, it's okay. So I have we'll get into because I have so much to talk about. I have
Yeah,
so many
I
notes.
it's been a while since I've seen you this excited. Literally last night, you kept sending me texts like giving me like a play by play. It's like, and I knew exactly which scenes you were on because I just watched it the day before, and I even showed it with my mom. Because like, okay, this is hilarious. I need to watch this.
I
This one
you
else, so I
watch.
don't
I
lose
know
my mind.
there's certain scenes in this movie. I'm like, you watch this with your mom, man. I mean, it is pretty tame, but like,
Like,
so
there's nothing like super like graphic or
no.
like like anything like super like vulgar happening in this movie. It's like a pretty like generic, not really generic. Like this movie is pretty unique for what it is, but I mean, in terms of like violence or like anything like that, it's not really anything that bad. Um, like I mean, you're talking to a guy who literally watched Reanimator and Bride of Reanimator like with my mom, like literally in the other room, and that movie is like a total gore fest.
I watched the movie Sisters with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler with my
Oh
mom.
yeah, yeah. No, that's that. I watched that with my mom too.
That's
Like
not a movie to watch with your mom.
I mean, we watched that because like I watched that with my mom because like we like love Saturday Night Live and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler are basically SNL royalty. So it's like this is gonna be hilarious.
It was just not. I mean, as we were watching it, I realized it's not my type of movie. And then, but there
Yeah,
were certain scenes where I'm like, it was definitely not a movie to go see with my mom. And I learned that while in the movie. I'm like, maybe we shouldn't have. Uh, but anyway, so this
anyway,
movie starts off. The first thing that we get some text on the screen that says "Rated X" by an all Christian jury, and this is when I started
it's,
again. I'm like not even 5 seconds in, and I was dying. I was laughing. Oh God. So
yeah, yeah. No, it's like right. Yeah, right off the bat, this movie lets you know that it's like this movie is not to be taken seriously in any way, shape, or form.
whenever
It's
I
like,
see movies with text on the screen, I've
yeah,
that's usually a bad sign. Like
yeah. I mean, look at Star Wars; those movies suck.
those, and then maybe like Hunger Games, because the whole point of text. I mean, this movie's different. But the whole point of text on a screen is to supply information that you need to know prior to the movie. This was just a joke. This was just definitely a
Yeah,
joke because it's like religious, and our main character, Father Doug Jones, which is like
yeah.
okay, he's a priest. He's giving a sermon, and you can tell that there's probably almost no one uh
The
in the
church.
church, because I almost said the audience, which I didn't know if that was the right
Yeah,
word
no,
for
yeah,
church.
because yeah, every time he's like giving a sermon in the church, it's just a focus on him, like at like the main like altar, like in like the front of the church, and it's just a focus on him. But whenever we actually see the church, and we only see like the inside of the church like once or twice, it's literally just him talking with Father Stewart, or it's like him in like his like sleeping quarters and like the another part of the church. Like those are the only areas of the church that we ever seen, and the only time we see like the interior of the church, I think is like one time for like maybe 5 minutes. The rest of it's just like in a completely different location that I'm pretty sure is just someone's apartment bedroom.
Yeah. So he says like amen, and you hear like maybe two people say amen. It's like, okay. He
Yeah.
then goes outside in his, still in his like Claire. First of all, the outfit that they were attempting to make, this is clearly just like a Halloween costume, like a black
Yeah.
like gown or something. They mean I'm
Yeah.
they're trying to they're thinking of like, the clergy outfit where it's like the black shirt with the white, I don't know the term.
The white collar.
Yeah, they're wearing pants. This they're wearing like they're more dressed like nuns who just don't wear headpieces, but they got the white thing. And there was a point where the
Yeah.
camera was behind Father Stewart, and I saw a safety pin was connecting the back of his gown. um, so
Yeah, no, costuming and wardrobe. There were a couple moments where it's like, wow, they're really wearing that, and one of them made me say jinkies, and I think you know exactly which part I'm talking about for that.
oh my god. Oh god, we'll get there. I don't
Yeah,
oh
well,
god.
we are focusing on that scene specifically for a while.
We are in the first 5 seconds of this movie, mind you. So
Yeah,
Father Jones finishes a sermon. He goes outside. You see a couple of like older people next to a car, and he's like, "Hi, Mom and Dad." And then the car explodes, and it just keeps saying, cuts to him crying, and cuts back to. So there's nothing there. It just says VFX
VFX car on
car on
fire.
fire.
Because they didn't have any money. Because they made it look like this movie had like a budget of $0. It's like, oh yeah, we didn't have enough money in the budget to blow up a car.
Which I appreciate the honesty, but it was
It was
it, uh, it was I was like, what?
uh,
So like that's when I really like it made it clear. Oh, yeah, this is trying to be. This is not taking it. This is not serious at all. They're not trying to be serious
yeah,
in any way.
yeah, no. As soon as I saw that, it's like this is going to be a fantastic movie if it's just like incomplete movie jokes like that, like borderline break the fourth wall. It's like this is going to be hilarious, and they do. This movie does not disappoint. It is not by any means like a good like a great movie, but I mean this is definitely a movie that like if you watch it, you're going to have a good time because it is from beginning to end complete nonsensical madness.
Absolutely. Like so after this, he's then sitting in the church with his friend Father Stewart, and
Yeah.
he's crying, and he's like, why? Like, why are they dead? Like,
Why
I've
did
lost
God
my
take
faith.
them?
Yeah. And so we get this weird, multiple times we get this weird ass split screen where,
Yeah, they try to be like full on like art house, like almost like a comic book of like a like they had like multiple like split screens of like here's like a shot of like them in like center of the screen talking to each other, but then on the side it's just a close up on their faces looking directly into the camera with some weird like filter on of just them glowing like weird abstract colors. It's like what the hell's going on?
and this is not the first time, this is not the last time we're going to see it. And oh God, it keeps coming back, and it gets more like
Weirder.
horrifying. Like, so, Father Stewart's like, you should, leave and go where God won't follow you. And was he the
If
one
he
that
comes back, yeah.
suggested China, or did was it Doug who's like, I'll go to
They
China?
no one ever specifically says you should go to China or I should go to China. He just literally next scene is just him in walking through a forest that is clearly not China.
And like there's just in bright bold yellow, this giant like, yellow font color, like it just says China, and he's
Yeah,
just
it's
walking through a forest, which there's no indication that this is China, and then he just
yeah.
goes China, and I laughed so hard.
And then he pulls out a compass like, wow, China really is east.
And I was like, what? And then later, though, in the movie, there's like the Vietnam flashback or the final fight scene. This is clearly, they just use the same forest
Yeah,
multiple
they use like
times.
the same like 3 locations until like they do like the montage, which is like a really long montage just showing like them at like like very public areas, like them like at a playground or in the middle of a street or like on a bench, like very public areas. Is like, oh, we don't need to pay to film here kind of things. It's like, yeah, we don't need to pay to film on this playground eating ice cream.
But it's just like, oh god, I'm like, okay, so yeah, he's like, China is east, and I'm like, what? I was just dying, and then we see this. It's this to make it clear that it's
Woman.
China. This woman running through. She's wearing like very cliche like ancient Chinese clothing, like with the straw
Yeah,
hat, and she's just running through the forest. It's like, okay, it was really the hat.
She's literally wearing like a karate gi. Like that's literally what she's wearing is like a karate uniform with like a white belt.
And she's like running, and we see some guy with like an arrow, and she gets shot. And then Doug sees her, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And it's like, "No, there's a fucking arrow in her chest." And she's
Yeah,
like,
she gets shot by a ninja.
multiple times in this movie, there's people talking to other people in Chinese or just in another whatever. They're in English, and the other person is speaking another language. And it's kind of like Star Wars style, where Han Solo's speaking English and he's talking to Greedo, and Greedo's still in whatever language he speaks. You know, and like I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so I guess just and she's holding. So the Chinese girl's holding this like giant tooth or rock.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be a tooth,
it was like a fossil of like a claw or a tooth or something.
and she's like, destroy it, destroy. And she's speaking Chinese, destroy it, destroy it. And he's like, you want me to take it? And she nods, and I'm like, okay, so she just understands him, okay. And then she's like, you have to use it or they'll kill you. And then she dies, and then the ninjas show up. And then
he cuts his hand and he's like, oh, the pain, and he's like bleeding all over the fossil, and then he like literally wakes up like however X amount of days later in his bed, like back in the church, and like Father Sue was like, "Did you have that nightmare again?" It's like, "Yeah, the same one." It's like, "Huh? How very Eastern." It's like, "What are you talking about?"
that was what I thought was weird, was though it cuts. I mean, this whole movie's weird, but there were many scenes where it just we don't see what happens. It just cuts to the next scene, and it's like, and then they tell us what happened. I'm like, and I know they don't have a real big budget, but it happens so many times, and I'm like, what? There are times where I'm like, am I missing? Like it's like I'm missing. They cut out an entire scene that should have just been there.
Yeah. They also never explain like how much time has passed since him being in China to him back in the United States. He literally just like he's like bleeding all over like the fossil, and then he like falls like behind a bush, and then he wakes up like covered in like cold sweat in the middle of his church, like in his bed. It's like, what the hell's going on?
He was really. It was weird. It looked more just like he'd have been sprayed with water.
Yeah,
like it was clearly not sweat.
So someone spritzed him with like a little something, like you would like your cat for disobeying, just like the little water bottle. Just
yeah, exactly. And so then he decides, he's like, I need fresh air, and he goes outside, and which I just thought was so stupid. I'm like, he's just running around outside like like in so much pain, and I'm like, I get like maybe wanting fresh air, but like it made no sense for him to go out of his way to go outside when unless he was still in China and like was in a, you know what I mean? Like anyway, so then he's walks past this homeless guy who's like asking for money. He's like, I don't have any, and the homeless guy's like, please, please. Then we see very obvious prostitute walk by in like leopard printed jacket and shorts and tights, just like has a lollipop in her mouth. She gives the homeless guy money. She then we meet her boss, her pimp, Frankie Mermaid. Because why is his name Frankie Mermaid, Kevin?
Because I'm swimming in bitches.
I was like, what? So,
That was like Frankie Murray. He's not in the movie that much, but like that scene alone is like you're my favorite characters in the entire movie.
and yeah, and
Another scene and in the same scene, he like literally yells at like another one of his prostitutes across the street. It's like, "Yo, Sherry, if you shoved dicks in your mouth as much as you shove that sandwich in your mouth, I'd be a millionaire by now." I was like, "What the hell is
he
going on?"
and then he also so the prostitute, he slaps her. Her name's Carol, which is like, I mean, I don't know. I guess anyone could be a prostitute. I just thought that was an odd name choice. But she's very young and a hooker, so I'm like, okay,
Well,
for sure.
well, she's also a pre-med in law, but no one's surprised by that.
Oh yeah,
she explains that like out of nowhere.
she's a pre-med law student.
Yeah.
It was I will as the so I'm jumping. I don't want to jump ahead. I don't really want to jump ahead this time around. I want to just like let it all come out naturally. So we meet Frankie Mermaid, and then so Carol asks him where she's working, like, basically getting her work schedule, and she goes to this like
Yeah.
park by herself, and this guy
In
comes
the
up
middle
to
of the
her
night.
middle of the night. Well, I mean, she's a hooker.
I know, but still.
I don't know. They choose their own hours or anything. I don't know. So
Yeah,
this
I don't
guy comes up to mug her, and she's like, "I don't have any money." And he's like, "Take me to your boss." And she's like, "He'll kill you." And then he is attacked by we see he's being attacked by something, but the way the shots were,
Yeah.
it looks like we don't really see what's happening. It's just the same shot over and over. He's being attacked by a dinosaur. Okay, I gotta say this now. Him being a dinosaur has almost nothing to do with anything.
No, like this he literally could have like turned into a werewolf or like literally anything and it would have been the exact same movie. Like him being a dinosaur meant nothing.
Well, the whole thing was he's the dragon warrior. Wouldn't have made more sense if he turned into a dragon? Like, why a dinosaur? And especially, why a velociraptor? And we don't, so...
Because
we don't get a full shot of him. There's this scene, and then the very end, we get a shot of him as a dinosaur, which I don't want to talk about that yet. I'm still...
The suit is amazing. Oh my god, the suit is amazing.
Like, so we're just getting these weird shots, and the way the camera is, and we're seeing just like a little bit of the head of the dinosaur costume,
or like the arms.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I guess I just remember he gets up, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's alive. We then cut to Doug wakes up in a random bed, and Carol comes in. And she's wearing this nightgown where I'm like, they clearly just went to thrift stores because this is not a modern day. This is not what someone in their 20s would wear to bed. Like, it's very old fashioned. And this is also when I got confused because so she walks into the room just like holding like coffee or something. And then later though, when he goes back to her place, he knocks on the door and it was like it couldn't decide if she was in an apartment or a studio. Because the first time she comes out she's barefoot in her pajamas holding coffee. I'm like, you cannot convince me that you went down to go buy in a cup, not even a to-go cup. Like, even in the beginning, it was like they shot it like she's in a house or an apartment, and then they later were treating it like
they literally only show like this one specific room of like this apartment or like her house, and it's just the bedroom, and it's really like it's an insanely small room, which is really funny because later on in the movie they have a fight scene with like a couple of ninjas. Like they had no room to move. Like the fight lasts like maybe 2 seconds.
The fight scene was just so weird and random.
It came out of nowhere and it did really nothing to like move the story along. It moved the story along, but it happened off screen. It's like, good thing that Ninja told us the location of his hideout before he died, because it literally cut to another scene between the fight scene and him jumping back of like the final battle.
In that scene, though, it made less sense because they said like he's like, I guess they followed me, when it's like, Well, then why did it take them so
He
long?
was psyching himself up for the final showdown because he needed to suit up with his like badass motorcycle
So,
jacket, and Carol needed to put on her like not a cat suit, like
oh
her
my
not
god, yeah,
Catwoman.
her outfit. I'm like, what the hell is this? You just own this? Like, I know you're a hooker, but this is just like a, I don't know. The whole thing was weird. It was, I'm like, are you?
She
I don't know.
Yeah,
So
it was so weird.
so Doug wakes up in Carol's bed, and she's like, so last night, and he's like, realizes he's naked, and he like, this can never happen, because he's like, oh my god, I just had sex with her, and I'm a priest, like
It's like, oh no, I broken my vows of
chastity.
chastity.
But then it turns out, no, they didn't have sex. She was out in the park, and he turned into a dinosaur and killed her attacker. And then he doesn't she's like, want me to show you, and he doesn't have any clothes. So the next scene, he's wearing, okay, I didn't, first of all, before we really get into it, he's wearing Converse, he's wearing high tops, which are the shoes he wears the rest of the movie. I didn't notice what shoes he was wearing up until that point. So I'm like, what are those, her shoes? Do they just have the same size feet? And it wasn't until later where he's wearing those the rest of the movie that I'm like, oh, those are his. That was just a weird
Yeah.
thing that I noticed, like continuity thing I noticed, or not continuity, but just a unclear thing I noticed. But then he's wearing a bright orange like sweater dress, and I'm like, what the fuck? I immediately texted Kevin and said, he's dressed like Velma.
It was hilarious. He's literally wearing like a Velma style like dress sweater.
Oh, just to
That like goes
clarify,
like.
this is Velma from Scooby Doo. Not, I don't know if there's
I
any
mean,
other Velma.
is there any other Velma?
I don't know. There, I don't know. There's the bitch mom in Hairspray is named Velma. Maybe people are getting mixed up. I don't know. Just to clarify. Anyway,
Yeah, no, he's literally wearing like a sweater like that goes down to just to his like his thighs,
he's
and
pulling it
it's
down like a girl does when she's wearing too short of a dress. Like, and which, first of all, also Carol was also, it bothered me so much. She was also wearing a really short dress. It only bothers me because I'm uncomfortable when I'm wearing things that are too short. If I have to be pulling it down the whole time, I'm like, forget it. That's just me. But anyway, they go back. She shows him the head, and it's okay. It's just a mannequin head, and
yeah,
and
no.
it comes back later too. It's just a mannequin head. They really,
Yeah, whenever they decapitate someone, it's just the same like crappy mannequin head, and it is hilarious.
and again,
And it's
it's
just,
trying to be bad. Like, it's pretty clear it's trying to be bad. Um, like, so it's not just that it's not like Tommy Wiseau who thinks he's or Neil Breen who thinks they're making like a works of art. Like, they are definitely going out of their way to make this bad. And she's like, he's freaking out like, oh my gosh, and she's like, no, you saved me. And like, again, mentions that she's a pre-med law student, or no, he said, or she says
yeah,
something, she says how she's a hooker, and he's like, you're a hooker, and she's like, and I'm a pre-med law student, but no one's surprised by that. And it's like,
yeah.
oh god, that's not a thing. And then she says that this is a good, like, this is a good way to, you can get rid of all, how many people during your confession tell you that they like have killed people or whatever, which, I mean, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
I didn't, confession, people like, I'm Catholic, but I've, the only time I've ever done confession, at least I think it was confession, maybe, I don't know, it was when I was going through my first
You don't even
communion.
know.
No, because it wasn't like it didn't
Um,
look like the typical, you're in like a little box thing. I was in just like a room with like a priest or something, and he just this saying like, what's something you do that you should not do, and I said yelling, and I think the only reason I said yelling was because I didn't know what to say, and my mom told me to say yelling.
yeah, no, like every time in movies, like whenever they go to a confessional, they always go through like the not really anonymous one where there's just like a wall between them,
Yeah,
but like a lot of church, or I don't know if like a lot of churches, but I know the church that I go to, they have a an area where it's just like you and the priest are like chilling in the room, like in the same room, not but like pretty much everything goes through like the stereotypical like barrier between it. Um,
But also
But
in
yeah, no,
confession, you can go. You would. People confess to. I mean, I know it's confession, but people confess to like murders. That seems like I
I
know
mean,
it's
I don't
confession,
know
but
if
why
people
would they?
actually do it, but
I just
I mean, I think that was just a thing for this movie.
I'm like, what? Because I always thought it was just I don't know. I was like, okay. Anyway, so she's like basically saying like, yeah, he should just do this, and this will be a real way to help people and get rid of the evil people. And he's like, no. And then he runs. He's like, and then he's like, I'm late for my confession. And she's like, now. And he's like, now. And he's running in the forest, pulling down the sweater because it's too short on him. And then he then shows up to confession, and Father Stewart's like, you're late. He's like, I know. And he goes in, and who is the person that he's meeting with? It's Frankie Mermaid.
Frankie Mermaid!
Who he's like, this, okay, so he's basically going off on all of the horrible things he's done in the last, like,
2 days.
He said four, yeah, he's like, last couple of days.
Yeah, it's like, I was like, oh, Jesus, how much time do you got, Padre? It's like, let's just cover the past 4 days. Like, let's see, I stole candy from a baby, then I throw that baby in a river, so, obvious we don't want it snitching. I've killed people, I pimp out bitches, sell drugs, do drugs, like, you name it, I've done it, Padre.
It made me think, though, so I know I just mentioned, and I mentioned him before, Neil Breen, he's another he's an independent filmmaker. He makes really shitty films. I highly recommend them. They break me. Like they're terrible. Mainly for me, it's just his cinematography. He'll just have these long ass tracking shots that go on forever that really break me. But everything about him, he always tries to make the character he plays is like saint like, and everyone else is overwhelmingly and stupidly evil. Like there's literally a line in one of his movies like, now that we've paid off our fellow representatives, that bill won't pass. Like things like that. And it made me think.
I always found like Neil Breen like weirdly overly pretentious to the point where it's like his movies are not so good or so bad they're good. They're just so like bad that they're boring. Like I find his movies like overly pretentious to the point where like they're kind of boring.
They're weird. They're weird. I'm not gonna disagree with that. But
yeah.
It kind of reminded me of, so this movie, people are like, Frankie Mermaid is overly evil, but it's kind of as if this movie it made me think of like if a Neil Breen film was made with the people who made it were treating it as it was a bad movie, as opposed to Neil Breen, who seems to think that this is a good film. Do you know what I mean? Like
I kind of see that. Yeah.
Like, these people are definitely going out of their way to make a bad movie. If you took the same dialogue in a Neil Breen film, it'd be a Neil Breen film. Like, so,
yeah.
So, he then gets so and then Frankie Mermaid admits that he's like, I killed 2 old people in a car fire, and I wasn't clear. And it turns out, first of all, it turns out it's Doug's parents. He killed Doug's parents. But was it he kills them, or somebody paid him to do it? I don't remember.
Yeah, he heavily implies like Doug basically loses it, and he goes like VelociPastor and like rips through the wall with like his like raptor claws, and like it's like, who killed that? Like, why'd you kill him? It's like, I got paid to, Padre. It's like, who did you? It's like they got their claws and everything, Padre. You might as well just kill me. It's like, fine. So he just slits his throat, and then Frankie Mermaid just screams for a really long time, considering the fact that he now has a gash where his throat used to be. You should not be able to scream for this long, buddy.
Oh, that is, you know what? In terms of weird injuries, that is like a low point. It gets way worse and more. Yeah. It's like there's no way you would be alive, or you're. Anyway, I don't want to. We'll get there. So then Doug freaks out, and he ends up at Carol's. This is when I got confused if it was a studio or an apartment, because she's just in a blanket on her bed. There's a knock at her door, and she opens it, and it's Doug. And I'm like, wait, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's a studio, whatever. So then he agrees, like, yeah, this will be a good way. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna turn into a dinosaur and kill people. And it gets really like, it starts getting weirdly intense. And there's literally a line where she says, I don't know much about God. And he's like, I don't know much about dinosaurs. Oh, because he says,
Yeah,
like,
well,
because, he's a religious guy. He's like, dinosaurs never existed.
yeah, I thought that was hilarious that it's like, oh, he's going that route with religion. It's like, oh, only it's like only man exists. Like, I thought that was hilarious. That was a really nice touch.
And then, there's like they after they decide to like do this, they just are really close to each other and they're standing really close to each other, just looking at each other. And I'm like, what are they gonna kiss? And they just high five, and then the
Yeah,
scene cuts. And it's not even showing, so it's showing shots of him again, back to the weird cuts where it's like, uh it's like side by a bunch of side by sides of him working out
yeah.
and hanging out
It,
with Carol, but we're not seeing any signs of him like as a dinosaur doing like getting rid of people.
eating
Like,
people. It's a weird montage of him going through his new vigilante lifestyle of him still doing sermons and like being a pastor, and then him like casually hanging out with Carol and like kind of getting like closer to her, and him like taking notes in like a confessional of like this all the crimes that these people have been doing, and then him in the streets just, and you only see like his dino head of him just munching on people, like ripping their legs off, and it's hilarious and over the top, and it's just they do that for like a good like I want to say like 5 minutes or so
it goes on for a
of just this
while,
montage.
but
And
also,
like I know
so
that doesn't sound like a long time,
it
but
is
for like a montage, that's it's pretty long,
this,
especially
yeah,
for a movie that's only like a little over an hour.
it was long. It went on for a really long time. And actually, so before this, he admits to killing. He tells Carol when he goes to her place. He says, "I killed Frankie Mermaid," and she's like, "What? You killed the Frankie Mermaid?" And then she hugs him, and she's like, "Thank you." And it's really weird because he definitely, so his name's like what? It's like Brendan. It's Brendan Steen or Steele
uh,
or
uh,
something.
Brendan Steer was the guy who directed this.
And he, I remember the Stee in his name. And then he he on and off just jumps back and forth between giving a ridiculous performance, and then, but a lot of the characters are definitely trying to give a decent performance, and he goes back and forth. It all depends
Yeah.
on the scene, but he definitely goes back and forth from giving a.
Well, no. Brandon Steer was the name of the director. I don't
I thought that
remember the
was
name.
him though. I thought that was Doug.
I don't think so.
I am going to. Oh, it's not. Oh,
Yeah, no,
because he
yeah,
showed
no.
up the name. Oh, okay. The name showed up so many times that I think I just, based on the types of bad movies I watched, I just made the assumption that he was the director and writer and like, because usually in a lot of these
Actor.
bad movies, it's like the main character is the same guy that wrote it, produces it. So I just assumed it was this scenario. That's on me for not
Yeah.
doing my research. Other than IMDb. Um, but he anyway, so yeah, he main guy, he goes back and forth. Doug, he goes back and forth from giving like a ridiculous performance to giving. I mean, they're none of them are great performances, but it's times where they're like trying really hard to give like
Yeah.
solid performance, and they're trying where they're like, there's no way they think that this is good.
Yeah, he's an interesting character because like he's like doing the best that he can with this ridiculous premise of like I'm a pastor struggling with the fact that I am a priest killing people while I transform into Velociraptor. It's widely ridiculous and makes zero sense, but the performance that he gives like varies between like very campy and like phoned in to like really somber and like giving it his all. Like I was like, okay, he's actually he's a really qualified actor, and like there's a lot of times like the ninjas or like the guy that they go to see an exorcist from, like they're just like they're hamming it up to the
Oh
point where
yeah.
it's like it's beyond campy their performance, especially the ninja and the main ninja guy and like the master, like whenever they do like their evil laughter, it's just they like laugh and then they stop and then they laugh maniacally again and then they stop and then they go again, but they they laugh like way harder and just like ha 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 ha, and then they would stop and then ha 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 ha, ha. Just like what the hell's going on?
He's like trying that guy. He's like trying to figure. He's like trying to develop a maniacal laugh, and he like keeps changing
But
it.
yeah, he goes through like several series of insane laughing fits that last like maybe a couple seconds, and then he stops and then does it again with a completely new laugh, and it's absolutely hilarious.
So, Carol and Doug are hanging out a lot, and I'm gonna say this now: she smokes in almost every single scene that she's in, but she's
Yeah.
holding it like it, and that's what I was confused on. Like, so Frankie Mermaid's dead. Is she still a prostitute? Like, does she like? Did she get referred to someone else? It never really answers that. It's just the assumption. No, she's a hooker. She's always gonna be a hooker. It's like there's no. I mean, her pimp is dead. She doesn't have to keep being a hooker.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's okay. So Doug is reading a book and about it's just called Crime
like,
2.
Like, yeah, Crime 2. And then he
Crime
covers
with
it
a
up.
giant ass 2 on it. And then Father Stewart comes in and he's like, "Oh, I'm reading," but he doesn't want him to see what he's reading, so he picks another hardback book that's a lot smaller and covers the title.
But you can clearly see that there's another book in front of it because Crimes 2 is much bigger than the Bible that he just put in front of the cover.
And Father Stewart's like, I'm concerned you're like late a lot and you're hanging out with that girl. And he's like, that girl, and he's like, her name is Carol and she's very nice. It's like, okay. And he said before, Father Stewart can't know. Father Stewart can't know about this. And then the second Father Stewart says to him, like, what's going on? He just blurts it all out. Or no, he doesn't blurt it out. He says, I'm different. I'm like, and then it just cuts. He's like, what if I was born different? No, I mean really different. And then it just cuts to Father Stewart doing a shot or like doing some drink from a flask. And then he's like, it's impossible. There's just multiple of these scenes where we don't see the reaction or what actually happens. We just see what happens next.
It's just they just cut to like whatever the next thing is like this movie only has like a little over an hour. We got to get this thing moving. We don't have time to dilly-dally.
So, yes, yeah. So he then says that he needs to be exercised and rid of this like whatever is making him believe he's doing all these things. And then the exorcist is like, I don't know, he looks like he escaped from What We Do in the Shadows or something. He's wearing like a dark robe. His hair's weird. He's got like an earring on. He looks like a pirate.
And also like his ears, like they've been like pointed.
Okay, like, I didn't know if they actually were, because they weren't significantly like, Elf or Peter Pan style pointed. They're just kind of like, some people have slightly more pointy ears. It looked more like that.
But it looks like he went through like a modification surgery because like the back of his ear looks a little like all cut up. Like either he had an accident or he like purposely like had like a cosmetic surgery to like give his ear a point. And I don't know if this was part of the movie or if that's just what the actor did in his like actual life. Because it's a noticeable point, and it's like I don't think this movie had the budget to make something that subtle.
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
So
this is like one of my favorite scenes in the movie because like Father Stewart like brings Doug there. It's like, oh, I don't have time to do this like through like the church means, like that'll take too long. We got to go through this back alley exorcism. And he takes him to this guy who we just talked about, and then it's like, man, I haven't been here since the war. And it cuts to him in a Vietnam flashback, and it is fucking hilarious.
So he's wearing this fake. There is Father Stewart is just wearing a blonde wig underneath a helmet, but he still has the same wrinkles and the exact same glasses. And he meets a friend who. What was the friend's name? Ollie?
It's like
I thought
Ollie.
It was Ollie, and then I heard it was like Allie. But anyway, he basically they're just talking like, like, do you have a girl back home?
Yeah,
Adelaide. and he shows him a picture, and then Allie goes in this whole thing of, you're gonna go home and marry her and have a bunch of kids, and one of those kids you're gonna name after me, and they're gonna say, why'd you name me? Like, it was so, like, what?
It went on for so long too. It was
And
just
it
like,
did
man,
nothing.
you're
It did nothing. Like, there was no reason for any of this. And then they're having this conversation, and then Allie just dies. He gets shot.
Yeah, he gets shot immediately. It's like, yeah, I want you to name one of your sons after me, Ollie, your wartime buddy who wasn't shot, who got through the entire war without taking a scratch, and then he immediately gets shot in the chest and dies. And it's like, he literally just says, like, man, nothing's ever gonna hit me, knock on wood. Too late, there's a bullet in my chest. And then it cuts to Father Stewart like writing a letter to like Ollie's mother, and then his like girl Adelaide's like, like Stewart, like John, it's like Adelaide, and she's like running to him to like give him a hug. And
Yeah.
she trips a landmine right in front of him, and she blows up into nothing but like a pile of blood that is completely covering Father Stewart. And two other soldiers like walk up next to him, is like, man, another gosh darn VC trip mine. It's like, I don't think there's anything we can do for her, sir. She's too far gone. Like, there's nothing left of her. She's just blood all over him. And it's the funniest thing. I lost it. I had to pause it for like a good 2 minutes because I was laughing so hard at this scene.
Because of the editing in that scene, I was so confused on how she died, because she was there and then she just wasn't there, and there was just like a bloody mess. Yeah. And I'm like,
yeah,
what? I kind of was really thinking, part of me was thinking that, like, I'm like, oh, I hope she dies. That'll be really funny if she dies, especially because she's running. Like, she, first of all, looked nothing like the girl in his picture.
No, she looked exactly like the girl in the picture.
She looked a lot older.
It was a really old picture that we saw.
Yeah. I'm also, I don't know. Anyway, it's also worth noting, this is clearly the same forest that was China.
So Vietnam and China are the exact same place according to this movie.
And so yeah, so Adelaide dies.
And yeah, one of the soldiers, like after like Adelaide like blows up, is like, one of them is like, what was she even doing in the forest anyways? Like, I don't know, maybe she was trying to start a family. It's like, what? That makes no sense. It's like they're like rubbing salt in the wound for like his like girl just died in front of him. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna start that family. It's like, what was she doing here? I don't know. Guess she was trying to start a family. It's like, what the hell does that even mean?
So then, yeah, she's dead. It then a shot of him back home, I guess. I don't know. He's just walking.
Yeah, it's like after the war, I went home to try to regain my faith and start up with the clergy again. It's like, again, you were a priest before the war. It's like, I didn't know you could like join it, then quit, then join again. Like, I didn't realize that's how how church worked.
I mean, you probably could quit. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen like movies and stuff where people are like, they're in it, then they left, and then, or I don't know, Toby on The Office was in the clergy and then was like, but there was a woman I wanted to have sex with, and it was his soon to be ex-wife, and that's like the whole joke is that his life's really sad. But anyway, so yeah, this whole scene, it was really entertaining, but it was useless. Like, I will say around this part, while that scene was funny, I felt like it was like, this was kind of there was like a 10-minute period, maybe a little longer, where I was just kind of, the whole exercising scene, I found it was ridiculous. It was kind of getting slow. I don't want to say it was dragging, like, I mean, because it was just, the whole movie's really short anyway, but like, they're trying to rid him and of whatever demon is inside him.
They're trying to exorcise the demon.
And he then Doug starts to transform, and he rips out Father Stewart's eye, and then
But
leaves.
one thing in this scene is that you see like just him in his like Velociraptor hands, but they're clearly rubber gloves that like only goes like so far down his forearm, and you can see like where it ends and his skin begins, and it's just literally a glove that's like hanging like off of his arm. They're just really crappy looking like rubber like Halloween costume, and he's just got like the three like clawed fingers, and it's just really funny because of how like bad and cheesy it's done. Like this scene looks like something like out of like a crappy like high school like college or a high school like video project
Yes,
for like a class.
it looks like a bunch of teenagers made it. Like
Yeah,
seriously, like which if a
it's
bunch of
hilarious.
teenagers made it, like, hats off to them. But this was clearly a bunch of adults. Um so then he runs Doug,
Yeah,
horrified by what he did, or he then what so the guy that did the exercising, he like what was he like I don't know.
he was like a former like priest from what I gather from like the like a conversation like between like him, Doug, and like Father Stewart, and it was like, and like after Doug left after ripping Father Stewart's eye, I was like, oh, the hounds of hell have truly been set loose, and then he just laughs maniacally, and then is like, okay, and then it cuts to Doug running through the forest like turning like completely into like a velociraptor, and then three ninjas are like, oh, there's the dragon warrior, and then but one of the ninjas says crikey in like a full Australian accent. It's like, crikey, it's the dragon warrior. It's like, all right, I devised a plan. It's like, what the hell's going on?
One of the ninjas is also has another off to the side like soliloquy of he also had a girlfriend that he was gonna marry. Like, I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
but it keeps getting interrupted by his like Australian like commanders like, all right, now Su Chen is gonna get up in the tree. I'm pretty sure dinosaurs can't look up, and he's gonna fly. It's like you keep hearing like him interjecting, saying like some weird thing about like this plan. It's like, oh, this plan is gonna work, and like his like really thick fake Australian accent.
Oh my god. So he then arrives. So then this scene, yeah, it's more like you see the start of it, and then it just we then cuts to Doug is at Carol's apartment, and he okay, first of all, I'm gonna jump ahead for a second, but he says that like I just killed Father Stewart. But then a little later, we see Father Stewart. He's wearing an eye patch because his eye gets ripped out. But
Yeah,
there's no like that's it. That's all there is. And so I'm like, why did he think I understand you attacked him, but there's no just because you ripped his eye out, like you didn't attack him anywhere else.
I mean, based off of like previous experience of like him attacking people as VelociPastor, they normally die, and I would think like the trauma of having your eye ripped out like could kill you. Like he literally like rips his eye. I was like, you either you'd be in like searing amount of pain, like have like a lot of blood loss from that. And it's like I would think that yeah, you could easily die from that.
Okay.
So yeah, I it's not that big of a stretch for him to assume it's like I kill Father Brandon. It's like yeah, you probably did.
I just thought he would have been in worse condition, like other than just his eye. But anyway, he then arrives. Doug's at Carol's place. He's freaking out, and this then eventually leads to them breaking their tension and finally having sex. And the sex scene is
Yeah,
ridiculous. So she's wearing this. Carol's wearing like a side ponytail, and I'm like 99% sure she has this side pony just so she can like sensually like take it out of its hair tie, and
yeah,
it's just shots of them disrobing. And so the weird cuts that we've been seeing throughout this whole thing, it's now full on. Think of like the Brady Bunch opening, like with the
yeah.
checkerboard, but it's a
Yeah,
sex
it's
scene
just
mixed with various memories and shots of just them throughout this whole time.
yeah.
And it's so
It,
weird.
but it eventually like escalates to the point of like them like showing shots from the entire movie and really fast like fast forward, but
Like
it's like
life
it,
flashing before your eyes type thing. But they're just having
yeah,
sex.
it's like yeah, it's just it's really weird because it's just like an epilepsy like warning of just them like spamming different like clips and scenes throughout the entire movie to the point where it looks like they're just playing like the whole movie in reverse. Like this, like, oh man, we really need to pad time. Like they didn't have enough pages in the script to make this thing like a full feature film. It was only like an hour long. It's like, oh man, we got to at least break an hour in order for this to get like a full like movie release or something like that. It just felt like they were really trying to pad the runtime for this movie.
Yeah, for sure. And the sex scene ends. They're just like it's the next morning. They're just like asleep in bed, and then the ninjas just like pop in through the window, and then they both Doug and Carol just jump out of bed and start fighting them. But Carol,
Yeah.
I was looking, I'm like, wait, she knows how to fight? Other than okay,
Yeah.
maybe she learned on the streets, I don't know. But her fighting also is hilarious. She was just pushing the ninja onto her bed, and every time he would get up, she would push him again. That was literally all she did. They then Doug's fighting one, and he takes the mask off the guy. He's like, remember your faith, Father Jones. And then he just does he die?
Yeah,
he just lays back down.
I guess they die because he says like because later on like when they come back to like that same room and like a little bit later in that same scene, it's like it's a good thing that ninja told us his hideout before he died. It's like okay, I guess he's dead.
And
he's holding like the rosary of Father Stewart. It's like they have Father Stewart, and then it cuts to Father Stewart waking up with an eye patch with like the ninja leader. It's like, Father Stewart, you're awake. It's like, what's going on? And then they reveal like their evil plan.
yeah. Actually, really quick, so back to the sex scene. Or after the sex scene, the fight, there's a like there we as far as we know, the other ninjas are like dead or whatever. And then Carol and Doug just stare at each other, and I'm like, oh my god, are they gonna have sex again? That'd be so ridiculous. I was like super down with it because it would have been so random and funny. They just make out, and then they're like, how did they find you? Like, oh, I guess they followed me. And I'm like,
I fought some ninjas last night. They must have followed me home.
if they followed you, why? What were they just being polite and like waiting, like post coitus? Like it made no sense. Like why did they not like attack them earlier?
They were waiting for backup, I guess. I don't know.
Anyway, so yeah, we then Father Stewart wakes up with just an eye patch and the main ninja guy, and who I guess his sidekick who had the was trying to figure out his evil laugh earlier in the movie. They then show that they're trying to take over the world or something. I had to go back because I was like, what's their plan?
Yeah, no. I watched this movie twice, so I feel like I have a fairly decent grasp on what their plan was. Their plan was they were going to release a way more addictive strain of cocaine and to the streets and get everyone addicted to it, and then they were just going to cut it off and then just have everyone who was addicted to it, they would eventually have to join support groups that were going to be run by the Christian church that they controlled and convert them to Christianity, and then they would rule the world through an army of Christian soldiers or like a different part of the church that Father Stewart's a part of. And he's like, you can't do this, this is inhuman. It's like, and then the main guy is like, infidel, and then he stabs him with an arrow. It's like, Doug will stop you. It's like, no he won't. And then they do like the weird like stop laughing again, and then it cuts to, it's like, good thing that ninja told us his hideout before he died. And then it gets ready for the final like fight for the movie.
So
and it's a weird plan and it makes no sense. It's
but
just
also,
like, we're gonna get everyone addicted and then we're gonna cut them off and then they're gonna join our church. Like, yep, that's how religion works, I guess.
There's a line when Father Stewart says, what do drugs have to do with Christianity?
Everything.
That's why I was getting confused. I'm like, what's their plan? Mainly because they killed Father Stewart, and I'm like, what was the point of? He's like, they kill him. I'm like, what was the point of all this if just to bring him here? And there was no they didn't really seem like they really offered him anything other than just telling him what they were doing. I think the intent was to like, hey, I think maybe you'll be interested, but that never really came off that way. And when he's like, Doug will stop you. I'm like, so what, you're fine with Doug turning into a velociraptor? Like it I mean, whatever. So and then yeah, we get the final fight scene where, okay, so they're getting ready for it, Doug and Carol. Doug puts on this it just, the camera,
Yeah,
you just see his torso. He puts on and zips up a leather jacket slowly.
a leather motorcycle jacket.
Camera holds on it. Like, he's done zipping up the jacket, and the camera just holds it for a few seconds just to show the jacket. Like, he's cool now. He's got on a leather jacket. And then they just arrive on the field, and Carol is dressed in this weird, like, a jumpsuit that has like a plunging neckline, and she's wearing her leather.
Yeah.
Like, it's like she's major, like, cat. Like, what are you, a cat goddess? What is this? Like, her whole outfit was ridiculous.
No, her entire outfit is just like, you know what this suit needs? More cleavage, and that's what I'm gonna provide. It's
it
like,
wasn't even the outfit. It just seemed so it wasn't even the outfit as an outfit that I had an issue with. It just seems so, what the hell is this? What is your reasoning for wearing this?
Because it's something that it'll keep the guy's attention or something. I don't know.
But then again, I also can totally see, like, oh, this is super weirdly seductive and I can move around in it. Maybe this would be appropriate for this weird fight. They then, yeah, so they arrive, and there's this guy there that he's like or not this guy, the main like ninja, not the master, like they're not very good with like names and whatever. And
yeah,
he's like, remember me? And Doug's like, that voice. And the ninja takes off his mask. Apparently Doug has a brother.
Yeah.
And we get shots of throughout the so there, I think we didn't talk about this before. There was a scene before when he's freaking out. It's like, what would my parents want me to do with like this gift? And he has this like image of his parents in the car talking to him. It was kind of that like Uncle Ben, Peter Parker, great power comes great responsibility type of talk.
Like, yeah, there's a scene where like he's having a flashback, like having breakfast with like his mom and dad, and one thing that I thought was like hilarious is that like they have like their plates like full of food, and then to the side of them is just a plate full of just like untoasted white bread, and it's like a full loaf. It's like me and my mom were both like, that's a lot of bread. It's like, what the fuck? We both focused on that so much. It's like, that is hilarious that we like both like were on the same wavelength for like, why do they have so much bread on the table? It's just the three of them. It's like, are they gonna eat that whole loaf? That's gonna get stale. But yeah, they literally like, everyone at the table is just laughing, and it's just like them having like a voiceover. It's like, I'm proud of you, Doug. It's like, you're my only son.
Yeah, I was like, what? It's like, you're my only son. Or like, Sam, the brother, he's just in the kitchen while they're all laughing. They all hug in the car, and there's Sam in the back of the car, it was so, I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. And then they all start fighting, and
Sam like pulls out a sword. It's like, I will not, like, you don't deserve to be slain by the blade of my ancestors. It's like, you're brothers. You have the same ancestors, you idiot. That line makes no sense. And then later on, Doug manages to get the sword, and it's like, your ancestors are my ancestors. And then he stabs Sam, and they just like spurts blood on him for like a good like minute of just him screaming like, ah!
Also,
and just
the angle he stabbed him at, it looked like he, based on where the camera was and where how low the sword went, I thought he stabbed him in the leg. But then Sam's on the ground and blood's going up his face, and like, I'm like, really? Like, none of it made sense. And during the fight, so Carol gets slashed. Now, the key word here is slashed. Not stabbed, not run through, just slashed. She's on the ground.
Across the chest with a katana after fighting 5 other ninjas to a standstill. He literally kicks like 5 of these ninjas' asses, and then one guy's like, he like yells for like backup, and like a guy who's like slightly taller than the other ninjas just walks up with a sword and just casually like slashes Carol, who does absolutely nothing to try to block
it or dodge move.
She just like stands there in her like power pose and just like, it's like, you didn't do anything.
And then she's like choking and like kind of drowning on her blood as she and Doug's like, no, I love you, I can't lose you. And I'm like, and then she just dies, and I'm like, wait, first of all,
Oh,
she just gets wait, well, apparently she's not dead,
yeah.
but we'll get there.
And also the ninjas are like the ninjas are literally just standing like off to the side, kind of crying at this heartfelt moment, and they're hugging it out. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool that the ninjas are like giving them this moment.
But they're like, she's again slashed. I get me, she might be in a lot of pain. I get like might, but it didn't. I don't know. It was really, why is she choking on her blood? That's what really made no sense to me.
It looked like a pretty like fatal blow. Like it's a pretty solid gash in her chest, and she's like coughing up blood. It's like, yeah, she's not gonna make it, I don't think.
So, but also,
like I've seen like people like take less damage in movies and they die from it. It's like, yeah, that she's probably gonna die from this.
I don't really know. Yeah, and I felt like at the time I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I think it was just the choking on the blood. I feel like I always see that in movies, and I've never, I'm not an expert on anything that, I don't understand when they choke on their blood. I don't like know. It seems to just happen randomly whenever I'm watching something. Like, I don't know why it happens or why it's. I can kind of figure out why it's caused. It just seems to always happen, and I'm like, would this happen? Is this accurate?
Yeah, there didn't seem to be any reason for her to be like coughing up or choking blood. It's like she got slashed on the chest. Like she didn't have like any internal damage, as far as we know, for her to cough up blood. It's just, yeah, it was really random, and she's coughing up blood on Doug's face as he's holding her. It's like it was kind of funny that was like a thing that was happening. It's like, oh, it's okay, it's okay.
He then this at this scene he finally transforms. We are treated to a full shot of him in the dinosaur costume. And first of all, it does not even look like a velociraptor costume. It's just a dinosaur costume. And it's this ridiculous costume. It's clearly too tall for him, because where the dinosaur head is, you can see it looks like the dinosaur is just hunched over, because it's clearly the actor's head. You see like where his head is, and then like the rest of the dinosaur face like just below it. Like, it was so ridiculous. It was so
like, this thing looks like it's like a homemade like paper mache like thing that you would see in like a high school play. Like, this thing looks like it was like made in like a in like a shop class, or like a home ec class or something like that. It was really weird and hilarious how they did this, because there was even a part in the movie where like as he's fighting all these ninjas, he falls over, and it cuts to like a bunch of like ninjas like doing like some like flips or something, and it's just him back up again. It's like, oh, he fell over and he couldn't get up again.
It was just like the whole. I don't even. I can't. I'm gonna try to find a clip of it and put it on the Facebook page or something. We can't even. I feel like we can't. It's just the costume is, yeah, very clearly. It looks kind of like those all, not quite, maybe a little thicker material, but those like blow up dinosaur.
Yeah,
it looked kind of like that, except crappier quality. Like, it was half deflated.
Yeah.
Because of, like, you can clearly see the actor's head. But he then, I guess, just kills everybody, whatever. I don't know. By this point I was just what the hell? I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah. And then Main Master Ninja shoots him in the leg, and then he just transforms back into a human.
Yeah.
And it's just like, the bad guy gives like an evil speech. It's like, oh, there were dragon warriors as far as the eye could see back in the day, and we managed to find a poison that could, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh, and we found a poison that could turn them back into human. And it's like, and then like Doug's all like, oh, I have 6 words as my final words. Like, what's that? It's like, I think my hand's immune. And he like literally just like rips his head off, and it's the same mannequin head as the guy from the beginning of the movie, just with like giant eyebrows and a mustache to match the main master.
And it's like, what is this, Kung Fu Panda? I didn't understand why it was specifically had to be a dragon warrior.
I don't know. They had to make it. It's like what's something that's Asian? The director thought to himself, dragons. All right, now what's something that looks like a dragon? Velociraptors. Yeah. But yet no. According to like the production notes for the movie is that the director thought of the idea in 2010 while he was attending the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan, and after his phone autocorrected Velociraptor to Velociraptor as a class project, he made a short film on this. And since he made a bunch of other like school projects and put them on his YouTube page, and they all got about 45 views a piece. This one got about 45,000. So it's like, I could probably make this into a movie, and that's where this idea took off. This movie literally took off because of an autocorrect on his phone.
Oh god. Just oh god. And so yeah, he kills the main guy, the main ninja. He then cuts to him in a doctor's office, and a doctor comes out wearing like an old like he's
Like
wearing like a full like not
old
scrubs like
doctor's uniform,
an
like
old doctor and like
old doctor.
with the like thing that goes on your head with the light.
The reflective like metal thing to like get the light bouncing onto your patient. It's just like, oh, that is just, it's like beyond ancient and outdated doctor's uniforms. Like, oh, we were able to stabilize Carol. You can go in and see her. And it's like he goes in and she's like, I'm fine. It's like, you're fine. I'm fine. It's like, you're fine. I'm fine. And then we get like the giant yellow text as like the beginning of the movie, and it's like that
She's
just says
fine.
she's fine.
But by this, I was like, wait, I thought she was dead. It doesn't make any, like, why is she alive? Whatever. And so, also, she's wearing this. First one, she said, I'm fine, and she was kind of whispering it. And for a second, I thought she said, I'm pregnant, which I was waiting. I think I was waiting for her to say
I
that.
thought that was too. It was like she's gonna, it's like she like turns into a VelociPastor too, or something like
Oh
that.
my god, that would have been great. But then, no, she would have been Veloci, I don't know, VelociProstitute.
Don't. Let's try not to put logic to this.
That's a mistake in this movie. There is no
Yeah.
logic to any of this. She is wearing this plaid dress. Like she's not even wearing the clothes that she was wearing when she was attacked. And then the next scene she's wearing that dress, and I realized she was only, she was only wearing that dress because they had just shot that other scene, or they were
Yeah.
about to or they were about to go shoot that other scene. So they're on this field, and he's still in his leather jacket, and they are like, he's like saying how I've left the priesthood now, and they're gonna like go all over the world and like fight,
Try to,
because like this is
like,
it was setting it up for like there would be a sequel, which I like.
yeah,
Okay.
they made it seem like, I was like, oh, it's like we were able to take down these guys, but they'll be back, and now that there's like $1 billion bounty on my head, guess we got to take the fight to them. And then it just cuts to like them smoking and like him then eventually like making out. It's like, all right, and then they go to like this like original song about VelociPastor, and that's the movie. It was hilarious.
It's completely ridiculous. I really want to show this to other people now. It's become my new favorite thing to show bad movies to people because I've already seen it, so I can focus more on my friends' reactions to things. Like I really want to show this to people. It's definitely a really good bad movie to watch with people. It's definitely going out of its way to be bad. It's to be, but I think with that, which I was fine with, but like him being a dinosaur had nothing to do with anything. It would have made more sense if he turned into a dragon. I'm sure they could have found the exact same, like, they could have found the same quality of a dragon costume. There was just really him being a velociraptor had nothing.
They literally could have just put like the same suit and just glued wings on the back, and it would have been the same movie. But but VelociPastor was just too funny of a title. It's like, no, he's got to be a dinosaur.
Yeah. I forgot. Oh my god, I forgot when you just said the weird song that plays. So during the sex scene,
yeah, there were a lot of like original songs for this movie. It was kind of like all over the place,
and they're not good, and they're super random and weird. And there's one during the sex scene where literally the song's like I did like there is literally a line in the song that says, "Oh God, I meant to go back. I had planned on rewatching it to take more notes. I did take some notes during this, but their line in the song was like, I didn't think, I didn't even have time to put my shoes on," or something like that. And I was literally like, what? The lyrics are just so bizarre and they make zero sense. This whole movie is just, it's so I don't even know. I don't know, but I was, yeah. You'll definitely laugh and or cry because you're laughing so
Yeah.
hard in this movie. It's completely absurd.
This movie, it does have like a fair amount of gore, but it's not anything like crazy with it. It's just a lot of blood spurting. It's not overly graphic. Like in terms of like the sex scene, it's literally just like them in their underwear. Like there's like really no nudity. There's no nudity in this movie at all. Like it's literally just like them holding each other and making out like in
Well,
their
no, the sex
underwear.
scene,
And yeah,
they're underneath the covers. It's not till afterwards are you seeing him and like, and like they're like both in their underwear, and then they have the fight scene, and like, are they not at all? They're like, okay, it's just let's just do this. The whole thing's just so.
yeah, it was just
I don't even
it
know.
was
We have no words.
hilarious.
Clearly,
I see this movie, see it for yourself. You can find it on Amazon Prime. That's how I watched it. Just go and watch this movie, people. I literally ran out of things to say about this movie.
I I think I got everything.
Yeah, I got everything off of my chest. Yeah, I guess we will see you guys sometime next week. Same time, same place. Find us on Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment on what do you guys want us to do next. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep doing these random hilarious movies.
And we are, so I just want to say, like, to all the people that are listening, like, thank you so much. We're definitely we're doing pretty decent. We're definitely growing, which is really great. So yeah, and yeah, please make suggestions on whether it's on the Facebook page or on YouTube or on iTunes. 'Cause, yeah, like I just more want to hear what people, even if we like, because I really just want to hear what the suggestions are, because I feel like some of these movies we would be doing anyway.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. No, like any suggestions, just I'm willing to watch like literally anything once. Um, and yeah, based on the movies I've seen, such as one horror movie that I don't think we might do that. I absolutely hate this movie with every fiber of my being.
this was Turning.
Uh, no, no, no. It was worse than Turning.
Oh, is this Satan's
No,
Little
we're not
Helper?
talking. No, 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 no. We're not talking. No, 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 no. We do not say that title here. We will not say that title here. This is the house of God. But yeah, no. I totally forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, if you guys really want us to do pretty much any movie, I'm willing to watch pretty much anything you guys suggest. We're here for you. But in the meantime, we're just gonna keep doing like these random movies with no rhyme or reason.
Actually, let's be honest. We're here for us, and then eventually, if you guys make suggestions, then we'll be here for you.
Yeah. Um, I know. I'm still. It's like the audience matters too.
I mean, yeah, sure. No, you do. Um, uh, yeah. So I think I don't know. I don't really have any. I don't know. It was really short. I'm mostly glad that it was this short, because our last review, which Godzilla, was very long, and so
Yeah.
I honestly was afraid that this was going to be just as long.
No, this is literally longer than the actual movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. It's about
Yeah.
10 minutes longer than the actual movie.
Yeah. So, on that note, I'm Kevin Tracy.
I'm Samantha Tomlinson, and this has been Movie Reel. Thanks for listening, and go watch VelociPastor.
Bye, everyone.